Was before about making sure we find things together that are alike. So whenever we see the parentheses, just like we have before, we're always going to make sure first that whatever's in front of them, we're going to distribute through. And like I've mentioned before, if you feel more comfortable on the multiplying part using a calculator, you can. Feel free to. It's nothing terrible, as long as we're getting the idea down. But we're always multiplying when it comes to doing the distributive property. And I do have to pay attention to the signs that are there. So like -8 times 1 is -8. And again, take the sign with. -8 times -7. What happens when you get negative times negative? Positive. Okay, it's those little detail things that are going to make or break you, at least for this first part of what we're up to. So then, once we get this set, we go looking for the things that are alike. So in this case, those are alike. Now again, it's not an equation yet. They're same terms, they're on the same side, so I'm not doing opposites, I'm just going to put them together. If I have 56, I take away 45, so I got to pay attention to the signs. I've got 11 left. If I have 45 and I take away 8, again, they don't have ends. That's why we group them together differently. And then we're good to go. Now, are they always going to be this long and complex? No, but I like to prepare you for when they do. One of the things I used to hate in school was when teachers would do like all the one step and the easy problems with me and then leave me to do all the hard ones, be like, what's up with that? So I've made it one of my goals to make sure that doesn't happen. And again, when we're doing these, multiply that number on the outside times each number on the inside, being careful of your signs. Bless you. And then 2 times 3 is 6. Find those parts that are alike. And again, watch for signs. One's positive and one's negative. Okay, 90 minus 14 would be 76, but the bigger number, I keep its sign. So negative 76v. And again, I have opposite signs again, which means I'm in a minus. 10 minus 6 is 4, but the bigger the bigger number has the negative. And I'm set. So it's multiply to get rid of the parentheses. Now we're just doing some adding and subtracting with the different numbers. Now for number 3, I'm going to go into sneaky mode. Number 3, I want you to work through. I'm going to stroll around a bit. I just want to see how things are going. This isn't one of those, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? I just want to make sure if there's something I'm missing that's causing you to, mix some things up, that we can get those set. So I am doing it here. Oops. I am doing it here, even though you can't see it yet. If you were to watch this later on video, you would see that it's there. I saw little stuff like making sure this is focused again. There we go. Little things like knowing that we've got negative times negative makes that a positive 70R. Those are the type things on quizzes, like on a 2-point question, if you'd forget that, you'd lose like 1/2 out of 2. So it's not like the world's going to end, but it's one of those things that it will kind of drop your grade a little bit. So make sure that when you're doing this, you're being really careful with signs, and if you need to, maybe have the calculator double check some stuff, okay? But again, I was really impressed with how well most of you were getting that situated. So now we're ready to add one step to it. We're going to turn these into equations. We see the equals now. So I give you a little hint there. We're going to distribute first. Then we're going to do the combine like terms. Now let me make one little note on here. We only can play with like terms when they're on the same side of the equals. So like if I get working on number 4 and I have r's on both sides, I still need to get them all to one side, but I can't do it quite like I did up above here. And you'll get to see that because we're going to do a few of these together. And then we'll get the test one at the end there to kind of see how you're doing. So here, I see the parentheses, so I know I've got to distribute first. That's always my first job when I see the parentheses. So positive times negative would be negative. Positive times positive is positive. And I don't see any parentheses on the right side. Bless you. So I don't do anything over there yet. But here's what I was talking about with part B. I see R's on both sides, but I can't just put them together like I did up there because I got this equals sign here. And I kind of, sometimes I'll even put like a little dotted wall up there to remind me, okay, they're on opposite sides of my wall. I have to do the opposite to get them together. Now, most of the time, I just get my R's to the left side, because that's the way these work most of the time. But everybody's got their own little way of doing things. So if I want to move this negative 5R to the other side, I have to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of minusing 5R? Add. And yes, even my people who find themselves as experts with this, I want to see what you're doing, because if there is a problem sometime, I want to make sure that I can see where it is right away. So the R's are gone on the right. Okay, this is still the same. And notice I put my plus 5R where my other R term was. So negative 12 plus 5. 12 minus 5 is 7. But the bigger number's got a negative. So I put that down like this. And now it just looks like a regular old two-step equation like we were doing back on the first day. So my new goal becomes get those R's alone. So how do I dump the plus 30? Minus it. Okay. Once the distributing's done, it looks like it's going to be all about opposites. And that could take some practice for some of you. I owe somebody 19 bucks, I borrow 30 more, I'm adding them up, and I'm keeping the sign. And this is the last step, this is the one that always tends to get people. What's my last step to get R alone? Divide, because we got to get that R alone. And it's tempting, you might want a plus 7. You're like, but it's like negative 7. Why am I not doing plus like I did up here? Because the plus isn't in between my symbols. It's right there. I'm multiplying R by negative 7. So I've got to divide, and I got to do it to both sides. And negative divided by negative is positive. Okay, so there's lots of little things, but nothing we can't handle with a little bit of patience. We're going to do the exact same thing on the next one. Wherever those parentheses are, that's my first job. So the left side, nothing to do. The right side, though, I'm going to multiply the 2 times the 1. 2 times 8 is 16. But now I'm in a situation similar to the one I was in number 4. Got my wall back here again. My x's are on opposite sides of the wall. So, again, I'm just going to keep moving everything to the left as far as my r's every time, just so I'm doing the same thing. So if I want to move this plus 16x, how? Minus it. Okay, and again, x's stay with x's. And I just recopy everything else. So the 2's still left over here. And that 36 is still here. And negative 1 minus 16. So if I owe somebody 16 bucks and I borrow another buck, now I owe them 17. And you just get into a pattern where it's the exact same type of problem every time. I want to get my x's alone. What's going to be my next step to achieve getting the negative 17x alone? Minus the 36. 36 and 2 opposite signs, so we minus them, which is 34. The 36 is bigger. We keep it sign. And just like we did over here, and what'll be the odds of it being about 99 times out of 100, my last step is typically going to be to divide. I'm going to mix it up this time. I'm going to go to cover screen on number 6 instead of number 7. So number 6, again, we're going to kind of see how it's going. Try to use numbers 4 and 5. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question, okay?
Sure.
Number 5, couldn't we start from the right side and go over to
You absolutely could. Yeah, if you were all the way back up here and you wanted to add the x and then minus the 2, you absolutely could. Yep, we have lots of options with these. It's just finding one that's comfortable for you. So if that's more comfortable, go for it. So number 6, I'm going into cover-up mode again. And in a moment, I'll even let you know in advance what the answer should be so you can see if things are working okay. But as long as you get all of your variables to one side, it doesn't matter which side that happens to be. So if you get stuck, look at those prior to that we did and say, okay, so what am I missing here that might be different than what we were doing on numbers 5 and 6 that we're going to take a peek at. This is kind of the big kahuna. It kind of gets everything going here. Wherever I see parentheses, and I saw some of you starting on this, and I was like, good, they've got that first step ready to go. Multiplying through over here, negative times positive is negative, but everything else here gets left alone. So 12 minus 3a, nothing over there. This minus 3a just stays that way for right now, because the only number that distributes through is the negative 3, what's directly in front of my parentheses. So once I've got that, here's where things change a little. Similar to up top, because here's my wall, here's my equals. I've got like terms this time. These two a terms are on the same side of the equals, so I can put them together. I can't put them together with this because it's on the other side of the wall. So if I owe somebody $3 and I borrow 9 more, how much do I owe them now? I know some of you all know this, unless you're the ones that owe people the money and don't want to know. I'm not sure. Negative 3 minus 9. Okay, negative 12. Good. Okay, nothing's still happening here on the left. That's about to change. Now it looks like the ones we were doing in 4, 5, and 6. We had that one step. We had to get those combined. But now again, and you have options here, but I know a lot of you like to be consistent, do it the same way. So I'm going to keep working with you on moving all of our a's to the left. And again, I have to do it with an opposite because it's not on the same side of the equals. So the opposite of negative 12 is plus. Again, the negative 12 and the positive 12 cancel. And that's the way it's supposed to be anyway. So all that's left here now, that those are gone, is the minus or the negative 24. Negative 3 and 12 is 9a. Because again, opposite signs, we just subtract, and the 12's still there. And once I've done that step, I've gotten all my a's or whatever the variable happens to be, gotten them all together. Now my job is to get that alone. Now here's the part that gets tricky. How do I get the positive 12 out of there? Minus it. Because you're like, well, I don't see a sign in front of it. But I know it's a positive because I don't see a negative in front of it. So I'm going to do the minus 12 And just like it's been on every other one, since I'm multiplying the a by 9, my last step, divide through there by 9. A negative divided by a positive, the rules are a little different. Again, use your calculator if you need to. Bless you. So here's a couple of things to keep in mind. On the homework sheet that comes along with it, for the first time this term, I'm going to tweak things a little bit. And some of you that are ahead may even find this even more beneficial, but we'll see. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Again, keep this in a good spot because you can use that on the quiz on Thursday. I'm going to change this up a little bit. On this packet here, the evens are going to be the assignment. And the odds are going to be worth just about another assignment's worth of extra credit. So if this is something that you have issues with and you want to get some more practice at it, I'm willing to, give you extra points for giving yourself extra practice. And again, the keys will be up here if you want to check something and see how it's going. But it's in your best interest to get as much practice as you can, so when it gets to be time for the quiz, you've done it so much, I thought, this is kind of simple, actually.